Real news, real issues, real people. It's Ceola Wilson, one-on-one.
What's up, Bermuda Real family? Thanks for tuning in again. It's been a minute since our last interview on January 31st with the former Premier, Dr. Ewart Brown. We have a lot more coming in the weeks ahead. Had to do a lot of homework, yeah? Just so you know, as of this show airing will be every 2 weeks moving forward. Thanks for the support. We'll talk about that more in a bit. Joining us today are the two lead subject officials in a story that I've been working on for more than 5 months now. It started some wee hour in the morning when someone sent me a Facebook message and it was this long spiel. I said, okay, let me wait till daylight, have some tea and put my glasses on straight. Turns out that story had to do with a lease granted by the West End Development Corporation to a new charity that is seeking to do a lot of good work when it comes to the social fabric and the breakdown in this community. What's the problem? That lease was extended from December to May. It's about to expire. We have the head of Ep2 here today who has yet to make a decision, so it's a live story. It's going to continue. This report tonight is about, it's not what you do, it's how you do it, okay? There is a social program at Messina House next to a community center in the midst of a community and dockyard that was granted permission by Ep2 to have a lease to do what they do. They promised certain things like public consultation. About a few weeks ago in March, last week of March, there was a public meeting at Messina House, at which time most residents in the area were getting wind of this. When they got wind of it, they got wind of my initial contact where there was an incident involving one of the males at this charity, right, who approached a young male in the area. Since then, there have been other reports of incidences. Now, I agree with the lead source, who, that's what we'll call her, that we won't say what's what. The matter has been referred to police, but there was a meeting held at the end of March regarding this setup at Messina House. The authorities are involved. I know for a fact that the area MP, Kathy Leon Simmons, is aware of it. She did not attend this meeting. I believe one of her parents were sick or whatever. We've reached out to the authorities, including the Child and Family Services and people that this woman has purview over. So having said that, we're going to start with the landlord who granted the lease. Now, Mr. Diaz would know we've been talking over several months. I want to say for the record that I understand NIMBY, the not in my backyard syndrome. I also want to say up front that the founder of this charity, who may very well have good intentions, is a resident of Tuckerstown. I was corrected. He lives in Harrington Hundreds. But when this man and all his affluence was asked if it's so needed, why you didn't set it up in your pool house, he told the resident that's not appropriate. So we're here today, right, to talk about it, because mental illness, homelessness, and all these things lives right in our houses. So we can't get caught up in this not in my backyard syndrome in a 21 square mile thing. Having said that, if it's not at Messina House, where would it be? So Mr. Diaz, I'm going to start with you because you're here with the executive director of the charity involved, Miss Denise Carey. And you will both know that I've been on this story for a while. Miss Carey would know that I visited the property yesterday and very quickly was approached, what are you doing here type thing. From a landlord point of view, from a homeowner, the building looks like crap from the outside.
Well, let's start. You actually started about 5 minutes ago with an overview, so I'll give you the overview from our perspective, and that is that Wedco was contacted sort of towards the end of last year, somewhere in the September-October
Okay.
timeframe, as were many other areas throughout Bermuda, in order to find a location that was currently empty, that probably needed a little bit of work, that was able to, for a short period of time, house people over the winter months because it was cold. And that is how the initiative actually started. So just so that we have the foundation of actually how it started. And I can say that that is what we did. We agreed to allow him to take a 6-month lease, which expires, as you quite rightly said, in May.
End of May.
We showed him the only place that we actually have available that was empty within the dockyard area. And it, as you quite rightly said, it needed some work, whether it be roof and painting and some cracks and different things like that, as well as on the inside.
I don't know what the inside.
No, that's fine. I have no problem.
I can only guess.
No, you probably can't. It's not quite as bad. I mean, there are many other places that are a lot worse. There are things that Home took on as their challenge. They said, listen, they asked us if we would do it. Again, it's 6 months, so put it in perspective. We're going to invest and do some things to, one, make it comfortable for people, and also we will do some work on the building. So we agreed through the board to provide a lease for 6 months, and knowing that towards the end of that 6-month period, Home would come back with a proposal and an overview of what happened over that period of time for the board's consideration to look at, can we extend and look for a longer term lease.
So the big question is, what you gonna do?
So the decision, as you already said yourself, is not quite made yet. The lease is not over.
Is it gonna be made?
When we have to obviously make it be before the end of May. So there are some things that have started, in that Home has put together, or is completing to put together, a proposal that will be presented to the WEDCO board. It will include all of the things that have gone on from inception, including how they got started, how they moved on, how it has been, have there been any incidents, basically the good, bad, and the ugly, if that's what you want to say, to put it in a nutshell. And that will be presented, we're expecting at any time, and it will go to the board at probably the next board meeting, or at worst case, the board meeting thereafter. Our board meets during the last week of each month.
What are we gonna go right up to the end of May before we know what WEDCO's gonna do?
It is likely that that will happen, because obviously we have to get the information, not just from Home, but also we have all the information that various other parties have sent to us.
So worst case scenario, you're gonna extend it and residents will want some things moving forward. Best case scenario, you're gonna shut it down and they have to get out. That's it?
That's what you're saying.
When we talked over the months leading up to this, you yourself, and mind you, that conversation was off the record, said there were some protocols that WEDCO had asked this charity to do that they didn't do. You care to talk about that?
I wouldn't say that there were any protocols that we didn't do. That Home did not do. I don't remember that as part of our conversation. I'm saying, like everything, there are protocols, and we can always do better, no matter who the agency is or entity is, or not everything always goes according to script. And so are there lessons learned, and that's what I'll call from it? Definitely. And do we have to have those lessons learned, and so we can go back to, in this case, the community and Home and everyone else, to ensure that we educate people? Definitely.
So when we talked, and I said this to you, you raised the point, if it's not there, where else it's going to be? You kind of came across like a bleeding heart. This could be my uncle, this could be my cousin.
Well, no, we had as you said, it was an off-the-record conversation, and you actually started this whole this whole interview process with saying not in my backyard.
Right.
That was part of our conversation.
Yes.
And so, yes, that is true. Everyone, I mean, whether we switch gears and start looking at whether or not people want to drink milk and do they want to smell the cows, whether or not we want to have
You need to talk to Michael Dunkley.
well, I don't know who you got to talk to about that, but that's not it, with it. What I'm saying is we have situations like this throughout Bermuda. This isn't unique to one area within Bermuda. There are homes and charities and other situations that are set up, BHC housing in certain areas, emergency housing in certain areas throughout Bermuda, whether it's run through a government agency, a private agency, or a charity. And unfortunately, we need to look at timing of where are we in Bermuda and is it required? What is the alternative? Those are all the things we talked about. What happens if home leaves? Many of these people are from Somerset. Where do they go? What do they do?
But I'm told a lot of them are the guys that drink on Flag Pool at Front Street.
I'm not sure of all the individuals, but some of them are from Somerset, some of them from other areas. But really and truly, they're still Bermudians.
Okay, we'll be right back. Let's take a break. Hear from our title sponsor.
We'll be right back after these messages. Stay tuned.